NASCAR Cup Series race has officially concluded from Kansas Speedway, and we see some amazing racing, incredible battles for the race lead, and one of the best finishes in NASCAR history, turning into the closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel, and welcome back to our video. I just got done watching NASCAR Cup Series race from Kansas Speedway, the Avon 400. We had quite a bit to talk about from this race. Let's go and talk about it. So this race actually started 3 hours later because there was a big rain shower and rainstorm that came into play. And I wasn't even sure if this race was going to happen today, but luckily the rain was able to get out of the area and we were able to go ahead and get the race in. And again, like I said, I thought we were in trouble and we were going to have a race delay. So I actually ran some pace laps early for 8 laps. And then at the start of the race, you had Christopher Bell lead the field from the outside with Ross Chastain on the inside. And both Ross Chastain and Christopher Bell put on a really good show out front, and they were side by side for the lead. Then on lap number 2, Ross Chastain was able to take the race lead back. And then on lap number 8, they started battling side by side once again with Ross Chastain and Christopher Bell battling side by side, and Kyle Larson closed in and got up to second position. And then we started seeing some amazing racing once again, side by side up front for the race lead between Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell. And then on lap 31, green flag pit stop started happening. First, Ryan Preece and Todd Gillen came down to pit road. Then the next lap, Mark Truex Jr., Alex Bowman, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Blaney, Bubba Wallace came in. Then the next lap, Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson, Ty Gibbs, Chris Buescher, Noah Gragson, Michael McDowell, they all came down pit road along with Denny Hamlin. Then the next lap, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, Austin Dillon came in, and actually Christopher Bell came in from the race lead. Coming off of pit road, Ross Chastain and Kyle Larson were battling really hard coming off of pit road, and they stayed side by side battling for the next 10 to 15 laps. They played slide jobs with each other, were making boosts back and forth up front for the race lead, and then eventually Larson was able to clear Ross Chastain. But a few laps later, Denny Hamlin was really strong on the long run. He started closing up to the front and got up to second position. And then Denny Hamlin and Kyle Larson, they started battling for the race lead. And eventually, with around 10 laps to go to stage number 1, Denny Hamlin was able to take the race lead from Kyle Larson. He was able to pull away and hold off a hard-charging Ross Chastain at the end. And coming out the final corner, Denny Hamlin would win stage number 1. So then, all leaders would then come down pit road with Denny Hamlin having a terrible pit stop after Austin Hill blocked him coming into pit road, and Ross Chastain won the race off of pit road, and John Hunter Nemechek got a speeding penalty. So then on the restart, you had Ross Chastain lead the field from the inside and Christopher Bell on the outside, and we saw some amazing racing where those two went up the racetrack coming down the front straightaway, and they went 5 wide coming down the front straightaway with Kyle Larson getting the advantage. You had 5 wide between Bell, Chastain, Gibbs, Busch, and Buescher. They were all 5 wide, and it all changed positions. And then at this point, Kyle Larson pulled out to a pretty big lead. And then green flag pit stops started happening between Ryan Blaney and Todd Gillen. Then the next lap, Michael McDowell, Brad Keselowski, William Byron, Austin Cindric, they all came down. Then the next lap, Chris Buescher, Ty Gibbs, Denny Hamlin, Alex Bowman came in along with Ross Chastain. Then the next lap, Kyle Busch came down pit road, same with Mark Truex Jr., Christopher Bell. Then the next lap, Kyle Busch also came down pit road because Kyle Larson, unfortunately, had a terrible pit stop and lost a ton of positions with a left front lug. And then eventually we saw the rest of the guys like Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick came in, and then eventually this handed the lead to Chris Buescher. Chris Buescher started pulling away a little bit, but Kyle Larson and Kyle Busch were starting to charge really, really close up to the front. But it would not be enough as Chris Buescher would come out the final corner and win stage number 2. So then all leaders would then come down pit road with Denny Hamlin having another terrible pit stop, and Chris Buescher, who came off of pit road basically up front, he got penalized for being over the wall too soon. And the other big thing is he had a tear off on the roof, and basically they, for whatever reason, decided to not come back down pit road. So then on the restart, you had Kyle Larson lead the field from the inside and Kyle Busch on the outside, and Kyle Larson got a fantastic restart and was able to clear for the race lead. Then on lap 176, trouble strike going into turn number 1 as Jimmie Johnson lifted going up in the corner, and Corey LaJoie just ran into the back of him, and Austin Hill had nowhere to go. I don't really know why Jimmie Johnson was checking up, to be honest. I also don't know what Corey LaJoie was doing there. Tough break for Jimmie, who's actually having a pretty good run tonight. Jimmie, from my understanding, was not very happy, which is justifiably so because he just got dumped in the corner. I don't know what Corey LaJoie is trying to do there. That was pretty stupid. So then on the next restart, you had Kyle Larson lead the field on the inside with Kyle Busch on the outside, and Kyle Busch actually got a great restart and passed Kyle Larson for the race lead. And then the next lap, trouble was strike once again when Denny Hamlin washed up the racetrack when Logano Bell went to the inside. And unfortunately, Ossinger goes in a wall. Same with Bubba Wallace, and Ossinger comes back down the racetrack and collects Bubba Wallace and Michael McDowell, bringing the caution out. Tough break for both Bubba and McDowell, who were having okay runs but not great runs today. And then on the next restart, Kyle Busch lead the field from the inside with Kyle Larson on the outside. And Kyle Busch got a good restart and was able to clear, but Larson eventually got the lead back. And then on lap 192, another caution would come out for Harrison Burton, who spun down the backstretch, just got loose off the corner, and spun down the backstretch into the infield, bringing the caution out. During this caution, we see a little strategy. Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, Justin Haley, Michael McDowell, and Ryan Preece all came down pit road. So then on the next restart, Kyle Busch lead the field from the inside and Kyle Larson on the outside, and Denny Hamlin jumped up a few positions, and then Chase Briscoe washed up the racetrack coming down the front straightaway, and Joey Logano had nowhere to go and spun into the infield, bringing the caution out and got stuck. Wasn't having a good night to begin with, and unfortunately his chances to win came to an end. So during this caution, Todd Gillen, Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, Justin Haley, Bubba Wallace, Michael McDowell all stayed out while the rest leaders came in. Corey LaJoie and Austin Dillon took fuel only, and Kyle Busch, Ross Chastain, and Noah Gragson took 2 tires, while guys like Larson, Truex, and Gibbs took 4. So then on the restart, Gillen lead the field from the inside and Denny Hamlin on the outside, and Denny Hamlin got a great restart and was able to clear for the race lead. And then we started seeing trading back and forth between Chris Buescher and Denny Hamlin, 2 of the fastest cars in the race, and they started going back and forth for the race lead. Buescher led for a few laps, and Denny Hamlin passed Chris Buescher for the lead, and then eventually Kyle Busch was all starting to close, and then Chris Buescher, he got a great run in lap 228, and he got the lead, and Denny Hamlin got it back. But at this point, they were managing fuel. Some guys had fresh tires to get up to the front, and you had some guys that are running low on fuel, including Denny Hamlin, and they were starting to back off the throttle. And this is where things began to change. Kyle Larson and those guys and Kyle Busch were starting to catch the leaders, but you also had Martin Truex Jr. and Brad Keselowski, 2 guys who know how to manage their stuff very carefully. They were starting to run Denny Hamlin down as well. And eventually Martin Truex Jr., he actually got up to the second position as the run went on. But it would all change with 7 laps to go when Kyle Busch spins alone from 5th position in turn number 2, just loses it, bringing out the caution. So then, under this caution, everyone comes down pit road. Denny Hamlin, Chris Buescher, and Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, and Ryan Blaney all take 2 tires, and some other guys take 4, including Martin Truex Jr. So then, on the final restart, you have Denny Hamlin lead the field from the inside and Chris Buescher on the outside, and Kyle Larson sends it low down into turn number 1. They're battling 3 wide going down the back straightaway, and Kyle Larson jumps up to second while Chris Buescher is able to take the race lead and comes around having the lead come into the white flag. And at this point, it's going to be a 2-horse race for the win between Buescher and Kyle Larson. As they go into turn number 1, Kyle Larson tries to make the move to the outside and goes to the inside and stays right there and closes the gap on Buescher. And going in to turn number 3, Kyle Larson goes to the outside, gets a huge run. Buescher tries to wall him to the outside. Larson gets a great run, and coming down the front straightaway, they're side by side, coming to the checkered flag, and coming off the corner, it is 1/1000th of a second. Initially, the win was given to Chris Buescher. However, after replaying it, Kyle Larson has won at Kansas Speedway. His second win of 2024, his 25th career NASCAR Cup Series victory. Kyle Larson won this race by 1/1000th of a second. An absolute barn burner of a racer, being and banging side by side coming to the line, and Kyle Larson finally gets that second win of the season. Kyle Larson, in my opinion, regardless of what happened, because that caution really put him in position to win this race. But Kyle Larson, no doubt, had the best short-run car in this race tonight. I think he almost led the most laps in this race. We knew Larson was going to be a threat coming to the event. He didn't qualify as good as I think some, even though he qualified in the top 5. But man, to win the race by 1/1000th of a second, which, by the way, is the closest finish in NASCAR Cup Series history, is absolutely unbelievable. It continues a great year for Larson. 25th career win, 2 wins this year. I think Larson's about to start really opening up and getting a lot of wins. And with him competing also in the Indy 500, this is a really great start for him in the month of May. Congratulations to Kyle Larson on getting win number 2 this season. Heartbreaking for Chris Buescher. A great finish tonight. Nonetheless, so congratulations to Kyle Larson on picking up the victory. So now we'll go ahead and take a look at the race results. I'll give you my score and thoughts on tonight's race. So Kyle Larson wins the race. Chris Buescher finishes second. Loses it by 1/1000, by the way. Absolutely amazing job by Buescher. He had a really strong car, probably the best I've seen Ford perform outside of the super speedways this year. I thought Buescher had this win. Unfortunately, they faded at the end, and then they got the opportunity, and it looked like he was going to win this race. Still, though, a big night for Buescher. He's been at some really great runs this year. He's had a couple runner-up finishes. He's been close to winning. Still, a great night for Chris Buescher. Tough break to not get the victory, but second place is a good night, all things considered. Chase Elliott finishes third. Great comeback for Chase Elliott, who was pretty quiet most of the night. Expected Elliott to be more factored in the race tonight than he was. He ran top 10 most evening, but just again, put himself in the right position, the right time, and gets a respectful top 5 finish in third. Great run for Chase Elliott. Mark Truex Jr. finishes fourth. If it wasn't for that caution at the end, I think Mark Truex Jr. is your winner of this race. Still, ran top 5 most evening and gets a top 5 finish. Great night for Mark Truex Jr. in fourth comeback run as well after some not-so-great performances. He did get a top 5, to be fair, last week at Dover, but still, fourth place, great run for Mark Truex Jr. And Denny Hamlin finishes fifth. He was probably in the capper seat at the end, came back after his issues at the start of stage 3, had a really good long-run car tonight, wasn't able to close out the deal, but fifth is still a great run, all things considered. Christian Bell finished sixth, a much-needed run for this 20 team. They struggled in the middle portion, but they made that car better, and Bell gets a really strong top 10 finish, a much-needed run for a team that's been struggling recently. Alex Bowman finished seventh, another top 10 for Alex Bowman. He's been racking up top 5s and top 10s while he's not going out there winning races. This is huge for Bowman to get a top 10. Great night for him in 7th place. Kyle Busch finishes 8th. Great comeback for this 18. They have had a lot more speed recently. If it wasn't for the spin, Busch was probably finishing 5th or 6th. Still, though, a great comeback to get a top 10 at the end. They had 4 fresh tires and jumped all the way up to 8th. They were coming back and charging up on that last restart. Another top 10 for Kyle Busch. This is a much-needed run for this team. They're starting to show a lot more momentum now. He's up to 8th. Great night for Kyle Busch. Noah Gragson finishes 9th. Ran top 10 all night long, had a great car in my opinion, was fast early, faded a little bit, but to get a top 10, especially with SHR, great run for Noah Gragson. His 3rd consecutive top 10 finish in a row. He's got a chance to make the playoffs this year if he continues runs like this. And Michael McDowell comes back and finishes 10th. They play strategy, and they get a top 10. A much-needed run for a driver coming in this race who hadn't had a top 20 the last 6 races. Great top 10 finish for him. Brad Keselowski finishes 11th, solid night for him, was in position to potentially win at the end of that race. Still a good night for RFK altogether, and 11th, a solid night for Keselowski. It was a much great bounce-back run after what happened at Dover. Ryan Blaney finished 12th, a good finish considering they were pretty inconsistent all night. They struggled for most of the night. The Fords were not that great. He finishes 12th, so still a decent run, but not a great day for Ryan Blaney. John Nemechek finishes 13th, ran top 20 early, had some penalties that cost him a shot, but he still comes back and finishes 13th. Solid run for him. Todd Gilliland finished 14th, gets a top 15 finish in 14th. Solid day for him. Josh Berry finished 15th, decent day for him. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. gets a top 20 in 16th. Bubba Wallace finishes 17th. Probably the biggest disappointment of the race, in my opinion. I expected Bubba to be a major threat for the win. He just never showed the pace and speed, which is really disappointing. They played a strategy. We're in the top 10. Just not a great night for Bubba, who, in general, 23-11, really struggled this evening. Justin Haley finishes 18th, another top 20 run for him. Ross Chastain finished 19th, was fast early. I do not know what happened to Ross Chastain in this race. It seemed like they played some bad strategies. Just a tough break for him. Just 19th, could have ran a lot better. Ran most of the night in the top 10. Did not get the finish he deserved. And Tyler Reddick finished 20th. He was one of the favorites coming in. Disappointing night for him in 20th. Not a great day for the 23-11 cars altogether. Chase Briscoe finished 21st. Disappointing night for him. Corey Heim finished 22nd. Restarting in the top 10. Finishes in the top 10. Good night for Corey Heim to finish in the top 25 once again. William Byron finished 23rd. Disappointing night for the 2014. They struggled a lot today. Never got up front. Expected more from the 2014. They screwed up in qualifying and never got up to contend. He finished 23rd. Carson Osbar finished 24th. Austin Dillon finished 25th. Corey LaJoie finished 26th. Daniel Suarez finished 27th. Ryan Preece finished 28th. We'll talk about him later this week, probably tomorrow. Zane Smith finished 29th. Daniel Hemrick finishes 30th. Derek Kraus finished 31st. Ty Gibbs finished 32nd after coming down pit road at the end. He was in the top 10 most of the day. Unfortunately, his chances came to an end at the end. Austin Hill finished 33rd. Joey Logano finished 34th. Riley Hurts, which Logano has been kind of really struggling this year. Riley Hurts finished 35th. Harrison Burton once again continues to struggle. He finished 36th. Austin finished 37th. And Jimmy Johnson finishes last in 38th place. So now, let's talk about the overall race as a whole, and I'll give my score and thoughts on tonight's race. This race from start to finish was an absolute barn burner. Stage 1, 80 straight laps of action. I would say stage 1 is probably the best stage I've ever seen in the next gen era. Side by side, back and forth, battling for the race lead. Then a restart of stage 2, going 5 wide, coming down the straightaway to complete the first lap of stage 2. Absolutely amazing. Then got strung out a little bit, but it got to that point where everyone started coming back together and the racing was just solid. And then stage 3, a lot of cautions opened up stage number 3, but then the racing got good again. And we had a lot of battles for lead between Hamlin and Buescher. You had them managing their tires and saving gas. You had guys charging up to the front. And they got an all-time classic finish at the end of the race with guys going side by side, beating and banging, one of the closest finish in Cup Series history, and Kyle Larson getting it done. This was a quintessential NASCAR race. I think this is the best race of the year so far. I am giving this race a 10 out of 10. I think it was incredible from start to finish. If they wanted to make Kansas season finale, I'd be for it because this race was phenomenal and absolutely incredible. For me, a 10 out of 10 perfect race, a great and fantastic race tonight at Kansas Speedway. So, that is going to be it for the NASCAR Cup Series race review for Kansas Speedway. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support on Patreon as well. Let's go below that and comment your thoughts below on today's race. What are your thoughts on today's race? Let me know below. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And congratulate Kyle Larson on picking up the victory. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Tomorrow on the channel, I'm having a NASCAR news video discussing news over the course of the last couple days. Then on Tuesday, I'm going to have potentially maybe truck race picks. I'm also going to have a silly season update dropping as well. Then Wednesday, I'll probably have a NASCAR news video. And I've got a lot of great content as we head to Darlington this week. Also announced earlier this week that I will be heading to the Cup Series Racing Gateway. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode. And I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content, other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, everybody.